you pretty much need a 2-inch wheel spacer, which I went with 1.5-inch wheel spacer. Now we'll reinstall the sway bar line. Radiator hose blistered. The Ranger. Man, the walls of that thing started going up. Why is it not charging? Good morning, guys, and welcome to After Hours Automotive. This video I have for you today is a total afterthought. I'll show you some pictures and stuff of the job here, but today I just want to talk about what kind of a situation for you if you have a 2013, 11, I'm sure probably 3 or 4 years either way of 13 Dodge Charger, and this is a 3.6 liter. But this customer was driving through a neighborhood where some water had accumulated during a heavy rain, and he just was driving along. All of a sudden the car just shuts off. He hit a splash of water, and all of a sudden the car just shuts off and doesn't even make it 20 more feet. So the guy puts it in park and goes to try to crank it, and it tries a little bit, and then ended up he had it towed he was only probably a quarter mile from his house, if that. So he basically had himself drugged back up the hill. Now you guys, this is what happened to this engine. I'll post some pictures right here on the screen so you can see. Like I said, this is a total afterthought. I have pictures, I have, video kind of what I was just showing my customer going through the process of repairing this vehicle. But this is not by any means a repair video. The only thing that I will say, one thing I will say is that this engine will come out pretty much, you just slide it forward and you can just lift it straight out. I mean, you take the hood off, you unbolt the motor and the torque converter and all your goods, and you just lift it straight out. I mean, it's like, there's not an easier engine to pull, I don't think, just for you guys who are going to have to do this job. But for what we're here to talk about today, this is my afterthought. And it's really sad to see this because this engine hydrolocked. This guy splashes through a small puddle, engine shuts off. Next, I'm here, and this is what I find. And this is chunks of the piston in the oil pan. So, like, that's as bad as it gets. Now you gotta buy a motor. And unfortunately, I couldn't believe how cheap I got this motor for. You guys, if you're looking to buy a motor for this, look for a Chrysler 200 motor instead of a Charger motor, because sometimes they're listed kind of on how desirable they are, it seems, or something like that. And you have to take the oil pan and a couple of coolant fittings and stuff over to your other engine, but there shouldn't be anything wrong with those parts anyway. If this happens, you basically are going to detonate a piston, the block, and the good internals. The short block is going to be garbage, but all of your accessories you can switch over. So long story medium, you're supposed to have a plastic shield that goes from here to where you can see this guy hit a curb, and there's like a lot of duct tape down here where it looks like they tried to save this piece of plastic at one time. But anyway, what I'm saying is that from the bumper here at the front back to this thing, there should be plastic covering all right here. It's a splash shield. Well, whenever you don't have that and you hit a little puddle, it's normally not such a big deal because that splash shield right here will keep an air pocket right here. I know this is terrible to see, but that is your air filter. I'm looking straight up. I mean, this is the ground, and then you roll it around. Straight up is the air filter. So if water splashes up under here, it certainly can go in there. And I've got a picture I'll probably put right here where you can see I came and assessed this vehicle after it had been sitting 2 months with the damage. And so when I got there, the air filter was moldy. I'll add a short video right here where you can see how much water was standing in the intake still, or just in the plumbing. But this is my whole thing. I showed you where the air filter is up there, and if it splashes, it can get up there and such. But this plastic guy right here mounts in here. I'm gonna try to show you. The car is like this, and this mounts in here like this up under the air box, which puts this pipe as your intake facing right. I mean, literally, it comes out right here because it goes up into that triangle, and then it loops around and comes out right there, and it's like this big foghorn. Now that is the fog light hole, which is missing a fog lamp, and this is like unfortunate because this was an insurance job, and the guy said he wasn't gonna repair the body damage unless the guy filed another claim and all this crap. But for temporary, after I spent days, and well, it was really a week between getting the car here, getting an engine found, and getting it here, and getting the all the miscellaneous parts, because I do all the seals when I replace a used engine. There's nothing wrong with using a used engine, the block, the pistons, the rings, the bearings, and all this. But if you want to, I would say even your timing chain, but for sure at least all your oil seals. There's no reason to put a used engine in without new seals and have it leaking, and it just be an issue for you. So with all the seals and everything, put it all together, get the core back to the junkyard. I had the car a week. I did not want this guy to bring it back with another Hydralock. And I'm sitting here looking at this like, dude, there's no way. I mean, with this pipe right in the opening, let's see if I can put this right here real quick. And you can see how ridiculous. Yeah, do you see this pipe right here? I have it. That is how, that's where it would come out if it's in here. Which this whole opening, obviously should be covered, but for it to come out right, I mean, this is a big spoon to just scoop up some coolant in this opening here. I mean, all I'm saying is I knew 100% it's possible, because the water he drove through couldn't have been all that deep, and he was it's an apartment community, and you can't really drive that fast. I mean, it's curvy and hilly, and the roads are very bad. I doubt that he was just ripping through there. So this is just a warning to you guys with the I'm sure, I mean, this is 7, 8 years now, but these cars probably more so now are going to be missing these pieces, the squirrel shield, and really, I guess in this case, it's a good thing for you if you are missing the squirrel shield to be missing this piece of plumbing at least, because I mean, I certainly, that brings your intake up, by 6 inches and changes the direction of it. So I'm gonna have to have this guy sign the insurance person told me to have him sign saying that that he's, you know, not going to hold me liable if this thing hydrolocks again. But, you know, that's definitely not what I want. I've invested a lot of hard work and detail, and I know this thing is about to be out of gas, but I just had this thought because I know how bad it sucks to have to do unnecessary repairs. And this was and after we did this engine, I went to start the car and click, sure enough, I guess, I don't know how exactly it happened, but the starter ended up seizing. We replaced the starter, that's fine, all fine and good, but ended up having to put a starter on it, and that was altogether $3,700 for an engine, all put together with the starter and the fluids and the, you know, the goods. So it's unnecessary. You shouldn't suck water in your engine. I even thought about figuring out some kind of way to put that filter up here because I would feel bad for the guy. I mean, so I'm definitely going to tell him, look, you know, don't be running through any water. If you're driving in the rain, be mindful. But I mean, really, it happens so fast. I mean, he just hit a splash, hit a little puddle, and, you know, it was over. Like, he didn't even make it. He said it didn't even run for another 3 seconds. It was done. So it's just unfortunate. I mean, this is why he has car insurance, still costing him $550. He needed a but hassle, man. It's just a hassle that you shouldn't be having to deal with. I mean, yeah, most people, if you hit something hard enough and the splash shield comes out, you're like, yeah, you know, your insurance will fix it or whatever. But there's a lot of people, and even me, you know, splash shield, you don't need that. I mean, worst case scenario, a squirrel wraps around your belt. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but is it really worth the time and effort to go and chase down this piece of plastic that's probably going to get ripped back out, and all the little fasteners that it takes to connect it? But in this case, you guys with this Charger, I don't know how it works with the 200 or these other vehicles, but the way they have this thing, the intake coming out, I mean, I get it, cold air, you know, whatever, but dry, hot air would be better than any kind of wet, you know, water moisture. So I was thinking the whole time that I was doing this job that I wanted to make a video on here, because I don't want you guys to unnecessarily have to put a $3,500 best case scenario engine swap in an otherwise nice vehicle. I mean, I'm no Chrysler fan personally, especially these 6 cylinders. More so the 2.7, 3.5, whatever, all that Sebring, and I put an engine in an 09 Charger. It was a 3.5. I'm quoting myself in now. I hope I don't look goofy, but yeah, that car's still running today. It's been, I don't know, 4 years. Pretty sure that guy moved from Georgia to somewhere up north, but anyway, I think Virginia. But same thing with his too. It reminded me, you could just pull the engine straight up out of here. I'm telling you, just not an easier. There's not an easier engine to change. Now this was a booger because we couldn't get the torque converter off the engine because it was seized up and I couldn't reach the bolts. So I had to pull the torque converter with this engine, which is unusual, and it adds another 7 or 8 inches, you know, to the back of the engine that you have to pull out of the bell housing. But on this car, I swung the ass end of the engine this way, you know, the back end around, and had this end around this way, and just came straight up out with it. And without the torque converter, on going back in, it just set straight down in. So I mean, if you do have to do it, it's not the worst thing in the world, but you shouldn't have to do it, you know, hitting a splash of water. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you know, purposefully continue driving, you know, up to your halfway up your door, yeah, I mean, you shouldn't probably do that. But just to hit a little puddle, I mean, I don't know, maybe it was worse than I think. The more I thought about it, I'm sure he could have gone after the apartment community for having poor drainage or some crap, but you know, oh, I had a buddy some years ago, it was probably in 2009 or 2008, he had this like 80 something, 89, 87 diesel F250, and he hit a low spot in the road. We had like a pouring rain that year. Hit a low spot, hit a patch of water, truck shut off, and that was it. Afterwards, it knocked like hell. It knocked like hell because I'm sure it had been a connecting rod. But on this engine, I even told the guy, you know, whenever I went to diagnose it and found the water in the intake, that's where that video is from. I was like, I mean, maybe we could get the water out of it and see how it went, you know. I had a buddy, probably not even a year ago. No, it was probably about a year and a half ago, in a little Ranger playing in the creek, and he just came doing 20 miles an hour up a 1 to 2 foot deep creek. The truck's on 37s or something. But anyway, splashing water all up under the hood. Sure enough, it shuts off. He pulls up. Hey man, what's going on with this? You know, what does it look like? And I said, well, I mean, you know, if it just shut off on you after you're running through the creek like that, I'm sure you hydrolocked it. So we pulled the spark plugs out of it. Sure enough, water in the spark plug holes. So we turned the engine over, blew the water out of them. But put all the spark plugs back in. He cranked it up. It ran for a couple of seconds, and then it went tack, 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 and shut off. And that was it. Threw over the side of the motor. You could see it right out the side. When you have that compression and you add that little bit of moisture in there, it cannot handle it. It cannot deal. So anyway, guys, whenever you lose this splash shield, whenever you punch out your fog lights and you just feel like it's really not important, it usually isn't. But be careful. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.
Hard right. Gotta have Jack Daniels, always. Scott's over here cutting wood. This is our makeshift fire pit. Bacon and eggs and biscuits on this here fantabulous fire.
Alright guys, be sure and hit that like button if you like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment if there's anything you'd like to see in the near future. Thanks. See ya.